Guys, all the cars that you see in these videos are for sale on my website, www.woodsandbarclay.com. Enjoy the video. Hello, welcome back everyone. This is the next video in the series on the 1985 300 CD. In the last video, you saw me redo the entire front end of the vehicle. Now we're going to go to the back of the vehicle, do the rear shocks and the rear brakes. So let's go ahead and get started. Is that tennis ball big enough? Good boy. So if you remember in the inspection video, there are already new brake hoses back here and the sway bar end links have already been replaced. I just want to go ahead and take out those original shocks, do new rotors, new calipers, and new pads. That way we have a brand new rear that matches the front of the car. So let's go ahead and get started. The actual rear rotors have, a little bit of rust like all rotors do, but oh, it looks like somebody might have wrote a measurement on here for how much was left. Not sure, but anyway, I'm changing them anyway. And look, I mean, the caliper is very clean. That's the original ATE. There's a Mercedes logo. But we got a brand new set, and we're just going to go ahead and replace it. The pads are, those are new pads too, with barely any wear on them. But like I said, these are 38 years old. There's no telling when those seals are going to start leaking. And plus, I did so much work on the front of the car. I want to make the car look as nice and reliable back here as in the front. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, guys, a little trick when you're doing the rears. The rears are way easier than the fronts. For one thing, these things are so light, you can just hang them from the hose and it doesn't risk hurting anything. But before you take them off, just, there you go, barely crack that loose. It's cracked loose. It's not enough to leak, just enough to easily unscrew the caliper when you remove it. Now, before we take these bolts out, well, we're not going to reuse these pads, even though they have like 100% life on them. I'll just leave them in the caliper. So now there's two 19mm bolts back here. Let's go ahead and take those off. All right, that can just hang right like that. And again, these are so light, it does not stress or hurt this hose at all. So once that's off, we can go ahead and just pull that. We can go ahead and just pull the rear rotor right off. I've got some replacement rotors. Now, these rear brakes, this is the emergency brake. I mean, those have like barely any use on them, and that's pretty common. You don't see a lot of use on emergency brakes. Those are fantastic condition. So let's go ahead and get our new caliper and our new rotor. Okay, here are the brand new rotors and brand new calipers. You can see this is the identical caliper used by Mercedes. That is the OEM ATE caliper. And they send us new hardware, so let's go ahead and get the mounting bolts out of here. And it's pretty easy. We just mount this guy right up here. Okay, guys, there's a locating dowel. There's a dowel pin here and a hole right there. And that is where, here we go. That's where it mounts. Now, just to hold that on while I reinstall the caliper, I'm just going to put one stud in there. I remember I broke it loose, so now it's just easy to spin this off. And I'm just going to put my thumb over the end to hold the fluid in, and then screw the other one on there. The rear is so easy compared to the front. Not that the front is difficult, but the rear is just super, super easy. Whoop. Now keep in mind, we are going to flush out all the old brake fluid with all fresh brake fluid. That's going to be We'll probably do that at the end of this video. Flush all the brakes, or I might do it in a maintenance video. And we have all new mounting hardware. And ATE already applies the Loctite to the 2 bolts from the factory. And we'll stick this on here. With the impact. All right, let me get the torque wrench, run those down, and then we'll go ahead and put in our pads. There we go. Okay, we have the ATE OEM rotor, same Mercedes installed. We got some Mercedes pads here. Go ahead and put in some new pads. They just slip right in there. And ATE sends all new mounting hardware. And they install same as the front, guys. All right, now let's go ahead and tap those in, and we'll tighten up our brake line. There we go. There's the retainer bracket, and the pins slide through, and they have the compressible ends right here. See that it's like a lead compressible fitting, and when you tap them through, that lead right there compresses and holds the pins in place. So let's go ahead and tap them. There we go, guys. Now let's go ahead and tighten down our hose. And there we go. That's tight. Perfect. See how easy that is, guys? So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side, and then we'll start on the rear shocks. Okay, guys, here we go on the passenger side. New rotor, new caliper, new pads, all new mounting hardware. The hoses were actually already new. Now we need to lower the car down and go ahead and get these shocks out of here. Now, to remove the shocks, you have, I think these are 17 millimeter. You remove these two, but we also need to go up in the car and take out the back seat, and we're going to access the top of the shock, which you can see goes up into the car, and we need to remove the two 17 millimeter lock nuts on the top of the shock, and then that shock will simply fall out the bottom and we can install new shocks. So let's go ahead and lower the car down, and I'll get that back seat out. All right, guys, I'm going to try to record this from the passenger side. There's 2 buttons on the bottom of the seat. There's one right here and right there. I already did that side. You press those buttons and the seat will pull right out. Now we'll take out that piece, but this seat will just slide forward. Now I have to get it through the door here, and it's not that difficult. Normally I see all kinds of, crayons and quarters and, popsicle sticks, whatever underneath here from kids being in the back, but it's obvious no one really ever sat back here because it's very clean. So there is an 8 millimeter bolt. Let's see, it is there it is. It's right there. There's one here, here, and here. We have to undo those in order to get this seat back out so we can change the rear shocks. There it is. There we go. We have all 3 screws out. Now you also have to be careful, guys, because there are a couple of screws that come from under the car up through the floorboard, like sheet metal screws. And if you put your knee on those, you're going to cram them right into your knee, and it's going to be a bad situation. I don't know if you can see them in camera. There's just a couple of screws that come up through the sheet metal from under the car, so be very careful. Now, once you have that out, we can push the seat up off its track. There we go. And this can slip forward. And there we go, there's our shock. So let me get this out of the car. Here we go, guys. I'll show you. There's like where there's a couple of sheet metal screws coming through the floorboard. You don't want to kneel down onto those, or that will cram into your knee and you will have a bad day. Also, guys, when you're doing this job on a coupe, you have to be extremely careful that when you're getting in and out of here, your foot does not catch on any of this plastic trim that goes around the seat. See, it's all 100% intact on this car, but often your foot will catch here or here, and you will break that when you're trying to go in and out of the back seat. So be very careful not to damage those parts. All right. Okay, guys, pretty sure it's that cover there, not this one. So get a screwdriver, pop off your cover, and we'll just set this to the side. And there we go. There's the top of our shock. Now you're going to notice there's two 17mm bolts there. And the way you get this undone, you have to have a shaved wrench like that. See, that's a shaved 17mm wrench that I can slip around the bottom one. Okay, there we go. Got it. So we got that one off. Now we can put a ratcheting socket on here and turn that one off. Now there's tension. The suspension is pulling down, so it's giving some tension. When we get this close to the top, we may have to put some vice grips on there to keep the shock from turning. All right, let's see if we can go in there. There we go. It is off. Now we remove our top plate here and our bushing. So there's our mounting plate and our bushing. There we go. Now, I often like to reuse these inside bushings because the bushings that Bilstein is selling now, they're just slightly thicker than these, and they don't quite go on there very well. And there's nothing wrong with the bushings on the inside of the car. They've never been exposed to anything. So I like to reuse these and then replace the bushing on the underside. So let's knock out the other side, then we'll lift the car up. We'll undo the bolts on the bottom. We'll drop those shocks out. Okay, I found something cool as I was going over here to the other side. Guys, that's the factory build sheet. This is when it was going down the assembly line. It has the VIN number and all the option codes that were to be installed on the vehicle. Look at that. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to save that and put it with the documentation, the original build sheet. Put that up there. All right, let's go ahead and get this out of here. And guys, while I'm back here, I just want to point out this vehicle is in remarkable condition. Like, for example, there's your original vacuum lines running to the trunk lock and the fuel lock, and I think the main vacuum canister. But like, look at this rubber grommet here. And even above that, that's a piece of foam the factory applied that the seat would press back into to help eliminate vibration. Look at that. It's still perfect condition. A lot of times that stuff is deteriorated, and when you see all that stuff, it's like the little things like this that represents the entire car. And when you see all that stuff still intact, and in perfect condition. It gives you a general idea of the care and quality of the condition that the car is in. Here's the original sound insulation that's underneath the package tray. Just a beautiful condition vehicle. All right, we have the bushing and the mounting plate removed. We're just going to save that right there, and we can go pop both of these shocks through the bottom. Let's raise the car up. All right, guys, you can see we're on the driver's side of the car. There's the rear rotor we just installed. Right here is the rear control arm, and here are the 2 bolts that we need to loosen to get those shocks out. Let's see, I think that's 17, yeah. So watch how easy this is. There we go. And there's our original shock. All right, guys, here is the original 38-year-old shock, and there's the brand new Bilstein, made in Germany, exact same shock that came on the car. Now, Bilstein also includes a complete new hardware kit. We have our mounting bolts, and they actually include a nylock nut for the top of the shock. Now, this is what I was talking about on the bushings. So, first thing we want to do, install our base plate here. Whoops. Goes on that way, and we're going to install our new bushing, and you can see it's the exact same size as the original. Now, these are the bushings that they supply for the top of the shock inside the car, and for some reason Bilstein has made these thicker than they need to be, and it makes it extremely hard to get the nuts started. So I don't like to use these. So I used the actual one that came off the inside of the car because, like I said, they're still in excellent condition because they've never been outside in the elements. They're behind the seat. So let's go ahead and get this shock back up in the car and then go inside and mount the top. All right, when you're mounting the shock, it's a little tricky because you got to get the tip of this up through the hole in the bottom of the car. Sometimes you get it real easy first try. Sometimes you got to play around with it for a second. Okay, there we go. I got lucky on that one. I shot it right through the hole first try. So these come with lock washers and new hardware. So we'll install those on here. All right, put our bushing on there. I got lucky on that one too. Went right up through the hole. Sometimes that takes me a minute. Okay, we have both shocks installed. Let's lower the car and go put the tops back on. The hardest part about this job is getting in and out of the back seat. Okay, now, like I said before, guys, I don't like to use the bushing that Bilstein supplies. You can see this bushing is a little thinner, and this is the original one. They fit on here better. So we'll just push that bushing right down here. There we go. And we're going to put our plate on. Now, even with that original bushing, I'm going to have to compress the rear suspension just a little bit because I think the shock might have been a little compressed in the box and our shaft is not coming all the way through. So we'll go ahead and do that, but let's just go ahead and put these bushings on both sides. All right, now I'm going to go put the rear wheels on and then lower the car a little bit to compress that suspension and get our shaft to come up just a little bit, and then I'm going to put our locking nuts on there. All right, y'all should have seen the bushing push up just a little bit, and there we go. See, now our threads are visible. Here we go. Now the threads are visible, and we can put our lock nut on the top. And you just want to screw this down until you compress the bushing just a little. You don't want to go crazy. Now you're going to see this the shock shaft starts spinning. So when it does that, you have to put some small vice grips on the top of this shock, or like a small wrench, and hold it still. So let's go ahead and get those. I have this little wrench kit with these are like little ignition wrenches or header wrenches, and these work perfect for doing this. There you go. I think it's this one, 15/64. That's the one that usually fits best. There we go. There you go. And I'm just holding the top of that shock with this little wrench. And you probably want 4 or 5 threads showing, guys, and that's sufficient. It's sufficient. Now let's go ahead and put our protective cap back on. That just goes right here. And there we go. Now let's do the other side and get the car back on the ground and get the seats back in. There we go. All right, guys. There we go. Perfectly reinstalled. We have done no damage, and our new shocks are in the car. All right, let's get this car up on the lift, and let's look at all the work that we have done. All right, guys, we are done completely overhauling all of the suspension and brakes on this vehicle. You can see new rotors, new calipers, new pads. These hoses were already new, so were the sway bar end links. Now, the axle boots, there's not a single crack or tear, not even a mark on these axle boots. They do not need to be replaced. There's our brand new Bilstein shocks. Brand new Bilstein shocks. Again, these axle boots are perfect condition. There is absolutely no reason to reboot these axles. Let's go up here on the front of the car. Re-grease the bearings, new seals, refinish the hub, new rotors, new calipers, new pads, new brake pad wear sensors, new hoses, new ball joints, new tie rods, new center link, new steering shock, new Bilstein shocks, new hoses, all of it, guys. This is completely sorted and ready to go. Nothing else needs to be done on the underside of that vehicle. So stay tuned for the next video, and we're going to start doing the general service, all the fluids, filters, differential, transmission, power steering, all of it. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you guys next time.